welcome to the second episode of this very interesting series that we're doing. We have very nice invitees, Noreen Versosa from TATA Communications and Rosalind Queck from Microsoft. We're talking about the challenge that companies are facing around the situation of COVID and situation of working from home. In overall, what is the practices and things that we can do about well-being and wellness and how we can ensure a better experience working in this new normal, right? So we are going to continue, and we have two very interesting topics in this episode. Let me address you, Rosalind, this time. When we are working in different locations, and when the workplace as it was conceived gets dispersed and gets broken in so many little pieces, and it becomes like a kind of an extension of our company into the little pieces of the homes or other places for your employees to work from. How can we ensure, how can employers consider all the different challenges that the individuals will face by doing this and still create the right experience that we want, the right feeling that we want, so we keep the engagement and we keep the alignment, we keep the people fueled for productivity and having a feeling of wellness all together, right? So it's a big challenge. So what can you share, Rosalind, please?
Yeah, thanks, Jose. So I think we need to consider the physical and mental well-being of people, right? So in Microsoft, we had a lot of awareness, education around how to think about being resilient as a person and as an organization, and also as a team. Right, so while obviously Microsoft provides technology, and we do think that technology is an important aspect of helping with working from home, but we also recognize that it's just an enabler, it's not the solution. We do need to think about the emotional aspect of how people are coping with this change, right? So even as we think about tech, it's not just providing any kind of technology, right? We have to ensure that we have proper training, we have a proper environment where the individuals are able to use the best technology, so that it kind of reduces the stress for them and help them to unlock all the full potential of the hardware or the devices and the software that we provide them. And the other piece is that the need to invest in the tools that help them to integrate work and increase productivity, reduce fatigue, right? So I give you an example of what we have in Microsoft Teams, a feature called Together Mode, right? Which really is using AI segmentation to put everyone in the same digital shared background, right? So what that enables is that you can see everybody in the same shared background. It almost mimics like you are in the same boardroom. You can look at non-verbal cues. You can see the sentiments of the room, and it almost makes you feel like you are together in the same place, right? And I think that really helps in making people feel like there's a sense of cohesion, there's a sense of togetherness. And I think that's how technology can also help, not just the very hard aspects, but to create the features that help to bring the human aspects together that people crave for, right? And we also saw that change management is a critical aspect that organizations need to think about, right? So you're adjusting to new ways. You have to look at working outside of hours. You have to think about the concentration, the focus on the emotional impact of the people. And so change management for not just the leadership team, but also the people, and having proper checkpoints, right? So like in Microsoft Teams, as an example, we can use like online polls, right? Where we can take managers can take a sense of where their team is feeling, what is the areas that they need help in a very non-invasive, you can make it even fun, right? So you can get a sense of how your team members are feeling. And an important aspect as we all kind of disappear into our home behind the screen is that how can you encourage innovations to still flow, creative flows of ideas to still be able to harness from all your team members. And we can have things like, whiteboard in Microsoft Teams that allow you to, pretend that you're in a boardroom and still scribe things and do work like you normally would, right? And that actually helps to reduce a lot of stress and make people feel like, hey, I'm still part of a group. And being able to foster that camaraderie, making sure there's a sense of belonging, people are feeling inclusive, their voice is heard, like, being able to use raise hand in Teams if you want to say something and you're not usually very used to jumping into a conversation. Those little things help a lot because we are typically working with different communication styles, very different work styles. So I think all those are the factors that we need to think about. And I mentioned also earlier in one of the episodes that managers need to think and make a conscious effort that we're focusing on evaluating outcomes and communicating with clarity and empathy to our employees that this is what we're focusing on, the outcome, and not on how they communicate or how they present, right? Because the output and the output of the work and the delivery styles of what they do could be very different. And having a very inclusive environment will help the employees feel like, okay, they are supported and they are being valued for who they are in a sense of belonging.
Absolutely. Very important aspects that you're bringing to the conversation. Thank you, Rosalind. What is the situation in TATA, Noreen? What can you share with us?
Yeah, thank you, Jose. So I would like to build on what Rosalind had shared. So our Tata culture on its own is very inclusive, and understanding is one of our core values. So employees and their families are all part of the large ecosystem. So we make sure that we know people as a professional and we know them outside of work. And we have gone into this point by working very closely with our managers and leaders to build greater understanding of each one of them and in their individual situations. And that's one very important factor. And then another one would be trust in the leadership. It is very high on our list, and when leaders make the right decisions in times of crisis like this, and where the central theme of their decision hovers around, the people's safety and happiness, this is very good indicators for our engagement because these things are non-negotiable. Right now, leaders are more visible and they're more vulnerable at this time. The other piece is communication. We need to make sure that the communication lines are open, and we need to remain transparent on how the business is going and how each function is contributing to that. There should also be a quick turnaround of information. So currently the situation is each country is in a different curve of the pandemic. Some are still having homeschooling happening concurrently. Some are living with parents on their sides, and some having really no support. We are very mindful of these differences and these challenges, and there are multiple connect sessions that we do. We also have happy hours, water cooler chats, and we've started to convert some of our festive celebration into a virtual mode. And to add to that, of course, we can see that there are more town halls and all hands happening right now. It's becoming more frequent and really more thoughtful and more scheduled into the leaders' calendar. Well, during this time of dealing with pandemic, we're making sure that we are celebrating this new shift, and we have placed this huge emphasis around really normalizing the situation and making people, think that this is the new norm. For instance, we welcome kids in meetings. They run back and forth. I have 4 children. even cats and dogs are there, you know. And we don't reprimand people for being late or having some connectivity issues at times. And this is all part of the lives that we are in right now. And also to inspire people, we continue to do a lot of roadshow in order to emphasize learning at this point. The traction of the e-learning platform utilization have really shoot up tremendously around this time, and that's very good because our main focus as a company is to continue to reskill them and to prepare them for the future of work, and this is it. It's really working very well. Another thing that we have done in order to make sure that we have a very tight connection with our employees and we engage them whether they're at home or they're actually working out in the field, because we have essential roles also that needs to lay all the cables there. They cannot be working from home in that sense. So what we have done is we have launched this global initiative which we call Virtual Works. So we want all these fancy things, and this is the way for us to stay connected to our colleagues and to our families. So the major pillars of this initiative is based on home approach. So HOME, which stands for H is for hyper communication, wherein our leadership team has been very visible, talking about different things, different topics into our internal YouTube. We have our own version of our YouTube. And we also leverage so much on Yammer in driving a lot of communication to our people on what's happening with the business. And the O stands for online fun. So we come together digitally, we invite our family, they do arts with us, art crafts and all of this. And then we ask them to show avatars, change their avatars in Teams. We use Teams quite extensively. So every week we will have a different avatar there. And we also have, fun meetings wherein we ask people to change their costume, their superhero costumes in one day, just to make things a little bit lighter for everybody. And another thing which is very important, and I would like to build on what Rosalyn mentioned, is also around Microsoft Analytics. I'm plugging Microsoft a lot in this in this session because we're really great partners. I don't know if you heard about, if you're using this, but this is sent to our emails on a regular basis, wherein it is an analytics for self-reflection. This provides us an insight on how we manage our collaborators and our networks in that whole week, and what time was devoted around meetings and how much time we have actually put towards quiet time. And it makes you plan your next step. How are you gonna do your next week better to improve? And then the other piece is the letter E, which is very I know you know it, engagement. So each of our work group will have a focus engagement plan to follow in order to make sure that they have developed new virtual ways of working. So that's about what I will share for this topic. Thank you.
Very, very rich and very interesting, definitely. And I really like how you interact. And who cannot, if Microsoft is somehow ingrained in so many things that we do in our normal life. But both of you were also addressing an issue that it's something that we want to hear, and today we have the opportunity to ask you, but we would love to have comments from our viewers about this. It's been said that productivity has gone up. I don't know if it's just a happy finding or a happy sharing just to inspire people or to get them more motivated despite the challenges, but is it happening? Is it really there? Is it really going up? And what should we do to foster that? And I want to make a quick observation here. The problem here is it eating out the me time, the personal time? And then if that is the situation because productivity is taking over our life and it's eating the personal time, what is going to happen in the long run when we get tired? And we talked a little bit about this in the previous episode about how this is happening as well, that the people getting tired of meetings and being word off of this new style of doing things. What can you tell us about this, Noreen? Continuing with your sharing.
Um, well, as a culture, we're very proud that we have been a performance driven culture, and one of our core values is around excellence. So now and forever, we will always have that in us, and we are driven by our growth ambition. In terms of productivity, each leader is actually empowered to monitor their functions, productivity, and results. And but however, instead of us really looking at productivity as a standalone metrics and one indicator, we actually focus on the business outcome. Are we delivering based on what the business needs? And some of the important indicators will be whether our customers are happy, and this is reflected by the net promoter scores that we have, and so far it's been going up. And are we also delivering to our shareholders? And of course, the bigger question is, are employees actually extending discretionary efforts? Are they happy doing extra work, whether they stand there for more meetings or not, 8 to 15 meetings a day, they're still happy. So that is important. So far, our results are looking great. So this is to us is a very important indicator. And going back to our employees, we have seen that our employees are becoming more creative in the way they deliver their work. And the way they connect with the customers actually has changed. And the way they close businesses, deals are very admirable. So we can see that in this shift, the culture of excellence as one of our ethos has never actually changed during pandemic, but actually it has been strengthened, and that's what I wanted to share, Jose.
Thank you, Marie. Thank you. Rosalind, what can you say about this?
I think, on the positive side, I think we kind of shared earlier, I think Noreen shared earlier in the previous question, right, which is that we get to see a lot more of our colleagues and the life that they lead, right? So, you get children coming into your com calls. You probably met, for example, I think I've met most of my colleagues, someone in their family, more than I've ever had, even though I've known for years, right? And I think in that sense, it's a positive because you get to cultivate more empathy, and you get to know people beyond what you see them, and that I think is a positive side. And in that sense, I think it does create that bonding that helps for you to want to put in the extra effort to drive a level of commitment. I think in Microsoft, kind of similar to some of the value systems that we have, we heard from Noreen, is that we are focused on making sure that we empower everyone in the different styles that they need to work in, right? So productivity has to be measured not just in the output of work, but also the wellness of the people. So we have deep focus in our, for example, make sure that we are creating awareness of inclusive behaviors when we are working together in a remote work, right? And of course, we have things like how people learn, how people communicate, can be very different, right? So some people are more visual, some people are very good at verbal, so how do you cater to all these different things, the kind of trainings that we have put in place for our managers and for our people, just to make sure that they have the awareness and be conscious of their own biases, right? So these are important things to think about. And I think these little things contribute to how employees are able to feel more energized in order to contribute to productivity. On the other hand, yes, we do see elongated hours, right? So when we refer to our work trend index, we saw people just working longer hours, right? If you look at Microsoft Teams, the number of hours have actually extended almost more than an hour on a daily basis. But it also means people become more flexible in chopping their days into managing their day, right, to a way that it fits their own flexible culture. And I think that's important. And we have been embracing that, making sure that people can form their own ways to work and communicate with their bosses and their employees and their teammates that, hey, this is the best way for me to work. And we have also programs like Be Well in Microsoft, where we also need to cater to avenues that we allow people to talk through subscribe to getting healthy in body, mind, and spirit, right? And we extend that help to our employees. Also things like allowing them to expense or buy technology, a stand-up desk, a proper chair, just so that they are also physically comfortable, and that helps with the productivity aspect, beyond just looking at giving them video conferencing tools, for example, right? So of course, in Microsoft, we have access to all our collaboration tools. So being able to collaborate is important. And then the way we measure outcomes, we also focus on what we call the 3 aspects of performance. So other than just the output, we also look at people who are leveraging help of others, and we also look at people who are helping others. And these 2 elements, including the output, right, these 3 are equally important. The way that we're messaging to our employees that these 3 are equally important, because we need to get help more than ever before, and we need to give help more than ever before. Right? So we want to cultivate a culture where we are taking care of everyone, an inclusive environment. And I, for example, use a lot of live caption right now on Teams, just so that I could also see verbal, I could also read, try to use different parts of my sensory, senses to help me cope. Yeah.
No, really, really important. Well, guys, this is an amazing content that you're sharing. So you can see that the first episode was good, but the second was really, really full of very inspiring, very useful practices. Noreen, Rosalind, thank you. You're getting our viewers to be hooked for the 3rd episode that we're having soon. And I hope you viewers can keep on looking, give us your feedback, give comments praising the good work of these 2 ladies that are doing such a great job managing amazing cultures. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. See you in the next episode.